Some of the most common questions I got since I landed here in the United States in August 1988 about my journey in the process of adaptability in the new world and in the Western society. Considering my background, I'm an Arab, I'm Muslim, I'm a female, born and raised in Saudi Arabia. My dad is Palestinian, my mom is Jordanian. They were both born in Jordan. They left Jordan in '66, landed in Saudi Arabia. All five of us are born in Jeddah, Saudi. And then I decided to pick up and leave and come to the United States to seek the higher education that I always dreamt about. Now, keep in mind that both worlds are so different than anything you can imagine. But and the interesting thing about my personality, I felt that I related to the United States more than I related to Jordan, because I mentioned it many times that the only time I was in Jordan is when I was vacationing or visiting family. It wasn't living, I never lived in Jordan. We weren't that type of family that went to Jordan, stayed in Jordan the whole summer. We're there for just like a week, 10 days, or 2 weeks. I spend more time in the United States, the west coast of the United States and Hawaii, than I spent in Jordan. So, and that's where the reason of me able to relate and adapt to the American culture was much easier and a lot faster than any of my other family members or some of my friends that decided to come over to the United States for education. Just because it's almost like I was rehearsing that and I was practicing how to live in the United States from age 7 or age 8 since we started to vacation here. And the reason why we ended up vacationing here is because my dad traveled to Asia a lot for work, and he will meet us halfway. He'll come from Asia into the west coast of the United States. He'll meet us and we'll finish our vacation summer break, and then we'll continue our trip back to the east, back to Saudi Arabia. So anyways, enough about the story. A lot of you guys heard it, but some of you guys that just joined us for the first time and never heard of us and trying to find out who I am, this is who I am, or part of who I am. So I just wanted to jump in and answer some of the questions that were always repeated by whether my patients, my team, my friends, or even my family back home. Like, how do you do this? Anyways, for some of you that newcomers, welcome to another episode of Chatting with Slava the Jordanian. I'm your host, STJ. One of the most common questions: how was immigration change the way you see yourself? It's a very complicated answer to that question. Change is not the right word, in a sense that immigration gave me personally the opportunity to discover and uncover some of the abilities that I did not know I had when I was living in the old world. A little bit of background, all right, really quick. Living in Saudi Arabia, it was a very sheltered and very controlled environment, in a sense that I could not even answer the door if somebody knocks on our door or rings the bell, because it was not culturally acceptable for a young woman to just answer the door for a stranger. You don't know who's behind that door. And I think part of it, I don't think Jordan is that way. Part of it is because Saudi Arabia, remember, follows the Wahhabism method of practicing Islam, and also the social and the cultural expectations from women in that society. Not anymore. I heard that now it's open and it's very, very different now. Women are driving. And anyhow, my time in the 70s and the 80s, you could not do that. So everything was done for us. Everything was done by going through different stations and different channels to get things done as a woman. So let me give you an example. If I wanted to go visit my aunt's house, my sister's house, I have to ask my mom, and then my mom has to ask my aunt that Slava wants to go see come to your house and see her cousins. Then my aunt will ask when and how and who's bringing her and how she's getting here. Oh, it's going to be a driver. Who's driving her? Who's coming with her? Is there going to be a chaperone? It's like, oh my God, I just want to go see my cousins. But it takes like a long phone call trying to figure out. Slava, the 16 or the 15-year-old, is going to jump in a car with a driver, with a chaperone or one of her brothers to make sure she arrives at her aunt's house safely and comfortably to go see her cousins. So just an example is very, very simple thing. So I realized after high school that this is not sustainable. You cannot get stuff done, especially when I found out for sure or confirmed to myself that this is exactly what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, is to become a dentist. How am I going to manage to go to school every single day and get the stuff that I need to get stuff done? It wasn't practical. So it would just, when I reflected on the so many examples that life is not practical, there's no way I'm going to be able to get done what I wanted to get done in that environment. That's one of the reasons I left. Now, leaving the old world and coming into the new world, when I landed, I think the first 18 months, I was in shock because everything was done for me. So I had to figure out, my brothers were with me. Both of my brothers were at the same university, undergrad, Case Western, but we're not together all the time. They had their own stuff to deal with. So I had to figure out, okay, even just a money card, going to the money machine, having a bank card, putting the bank card into the money machine, pulling money, like how safe it is. I have to figure out that when to go and how to go and who's going to be with me. I can't go by myself, stuff like that. Discovering that there is a independence or independent process or independent life that I have agency in, and I'm going to end up having autonomy over. That was mind-boggling. It was like my brain was, no, something's wrong. So simple life tasks like these, I did not know that I can do this. I did not know that I need to do this, because life is not going to be practical, it's going to be complicated, and I'm not going to, advance basically in my life. So when you say change, how immigration changed me, I'm the same person. Didn't change me personally. In my opinion, it just forced me and pushed me to uncover and discover my ability, right? What is it, what kind of skills I have in order to get stuff done that I never had to do. Give you an example. When I went back I had to go back to Saudi Arabia for Christmas break and summer break, and we had to renew our student visa. So we had to have all the paperwork. It wasn't digital. All the paperwork, collect all that, go to the American embassy or American consulate in Jeddah. That took 3 days. My dad went the first year. After that, he goes, you guys got to learn how to do this, and you need to go all, on your own, because you need to learn how to process paperwork, and you need to learn accountability, that when you walk into that consulate, you better make sure you have every piece of paper that you need in order to process the renewal of your student visa in order to go back. So that is a big responsibility, and you build accountability of that. Now, I've been in the United States taking care of my everyday things, and going back to Saudi, my dad didn't want to have me relapse. Oh, I'm back to Saudi. Everybody's going to take care of everything for me. He just said, no, you're going to regress, right? So, and he didn't want me to go backwards and then having a hard time going back to the US. And it's like, oh, I wish my dad was here. I wish my mom was here. They can take care of these things for me. He goes, no. You got to keep going. You got to keep moving forward. So we had to take care of that. And that builds, like I said, accountability, responsibility. You build this mindset or mind process that, okay, I need to get this, you need to get that done. Troubleshooting, you just on your feet and constantly thinking on your feet and troubleshooting every time you hit a brick wall, it's like, okay, I can't go this way. I got to make a right and make a left. You have to make decisions on your own. So that's how immigration and leaving the home world, coming to the new world, really helped me understand that I need to get this done, and how am I going to get this done? And you start researching too. Okay, what are the challenges I have to go through? What are the resources do I have? Ask some questions, reach out to the people that can help you, so far and so on. I hope that answered the question. The other one is, what strengths have you discovered in yourself through your journey? And I just touch base on that independence, knowing that you have the independence from that culture, and having, like I said, the agency and autonomy over your life. It's really a weird concept, because you have to understand that the Arab society, the traditional Arab society, it's all about family, and it's all about, just like the hive, the beehives. We're all moving together, right? We're going together to eat. We're going together to pray. We're gonna say goodnight together. We're gonna wake up together. We're gonna go to school together. We're all together. And now when you split out of the beehive, and just, you're like, whoa, it's almost, you lose your path, and you lose your direction, you lose your way, to a certain point, and you have to find your own way, right? So it's funny, that was the second question I wrote, because that, one fell into the other. And what moment that made you feel that you truly belong? Oh, this question I get a lot from my patients, especially my patients that have traveled international, whether for work or they lived there for a while because they were born in a different country, whether Germany or England or Portugal or even Spain. I had patients that lived in South Africa because of their dad's work, and we always, when I see them in my clinics, we start talking about that. Or that question sometimes comes from a first generation Arab American, that they're struggling between the two worlds and the two identities, and they ask me, they said, when did you find out you belong? Honestly, never. To answer that question, you never feel you belong anywhere. You feel like you're constantly between two worlds, and it's almost you have to make your own world inside your head, and that's the world you belong to, is your mindset, right? But physically, emotionally, practically, you that's just me personally. I don't feel I belong neither here or there, because the challenge is when I am home, I am too American. I feel I'm too American to be an Arab. And when I'm here in the United States, I'm too Arab to be American. And I'm 57 in June, 57 years old. And I still don't feel like I belong 100% like I used to feel when I was younger in Saudi Arabia. Even in Saudi Arabia, though, come to think of it, I always felt when I'm in Saudi, I'm too Jordanian to be a Saudi. When I'm Jordan, I'm too Saudi to be Jordanian. Because when I'm in Jordan, I don't know why, I behaved like a Saudi. And when I'm in Saudi, I behave like Jordanian/Palestinian. They're the same culture. By 11 teen. So I didn't feel like I really belonged. And I think that settled more after high school, when I had to make the decision to be somewhere for education or for dental school. So but one of the questions that I ask myself is that what would it take from me to feel that belonging that I'm constantly looking for? Now, you got to remember the background. My dad is Palestinian, my mom is Jordanian. They had to leave Jordan, displace himself, because there was so much going on in the 60s, the early 60s, mid 60s, about the Ba'ath Party and all the young professionals. They were, like, unite the Arab world and all that stuff. And there was like, stuff was against the ruling monarch that was at that time. So they just wanted to leave and start their life in somewhere that it just has nothing to do with Jordan, basically. So when the having a Palestinian, Jordanian pulling themselves from their homeland into Saudi Arabia, it just, you couldn't talk about everything that you could talk about in Jordan, because they breathed, they ate, they drank, they talked about the Palestinian cause all the time, and that's especially at that time. And as you know, you have, Egypt entering the war in 1973. Egypt fought the war in 1967, and that's when my parents left Saudi Arabia. So there's a lot of political turmoil. There's so many opinions, division, polarization, who your side you're on, and all that stuff. My mom told me that when they went to Saudi, they felt like it was, they were activities, but not like the Levantine region, like Jordan, or you were in Syria or Lebanon. Saudi Arabia was a lot calmer. Saudi Arabia was busy trying to build their economy, and that's why the influx of the young professionals was so high in the 50s and the 60s to build all the system, education system, financial system, industry, oil, all that stuff, and they needed experts to train and educate the Saudis to run their own country, basically. So it's hard to describe. Almost your senses, they quiet down when you displace yourself from that region into a region like into Saudi Arabia, the Gulf, or even into United States or Europe. So that's why you leave that part of you behind. When you leave that part of you behind, then you're like, okay, that was part of my identity. That's what the most topic we spoke about. It's like, what's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen next week? Constantly politics, news. And when you come to the Western world, Nobody cared, especially the United States. Some people care, but I was in Ohio, so nobody cared about the Palestinian cause. Nobody cared about, Egypt fighting in 1973. Nobody cared that, 1948, the Palestinians were displaced. Nobody cared. Some people did, but in United States had its own things that they just came out of. You have World War II, Vietnam, North Korea, the Cold War. So when you want to sit down and talk with an American about like, hey, I wonder what's going to happen next week, or, back home, nobody cared. So it was an involuntary break for your senses of, you don't have to talk about it. You don't have to watch the news about this. You don't have to. And then you just got to focus about school. That's what my dad used to tell me, is you got to focus about school. So, the other thing that about, belonging is when you displace yourself without the whole family structure that you used to, and you leave on your own, that part of your identity you leave behind, because you don't have the family to remind you. It's like, hey, come over for dinner. Hey, come over for lunch. Hey, what are you guys doing this weekend? Hey, so-and-so is getting married. Hey, so-and-so has a birthday. There's none of that. So when I left my home world and I came to the United States, I came as an undergrad student. Then I met my Egyptian darling, as I call him, and then I got married. And then I moved to California with him because he was in graduate school. It was just me and him. So I was by myself with my brothers. I got married. Then, okay, my family I have a partner now, so I have some kind of a family, which is me and him, but it was me and him for 2 years. Then I came back to the East Coast. I got accepted at NYU Dental School. And that's when I felt some kind of a belonging, is when I lived with my in-laws as I was going through dental school, because that household was very Egyptian, very Arab, very Islamic, and they had their own friends and community, and I went back to, hey, so-and-so is getting engaged. Hey, so-and-so is getting married. Oh, we have to go to a birthday party. We're going to go to the holidays, the Eid, al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha, go to the mosque and celebrate and all this stuff. So that gave me back a very light taste of what my life used to be in my home world. So, like I said, I hope that answers the question of belonging. But it's a very complicated concept, belonging, because it really depends on how you perceive your reality and how you process the world around you in order to come up with the definition of belonging according to you, not according to anybody else. Because when you leave your home world and you end up in the new world, you're creating a new world, you're creating a new life, you're creating a new community, you're creating a new family, you're creating a new customs, tradition. What do you want to celebrate? Do you want to celebrate Christmas, or you want to celebrate, Eid? Do you want to celebrate Easter, or you want to celebrate, do you want to celebrate birthdays? Maybe you don't want to celebrate birthdays. Do you believe in marriages? Do you believe in weddings? Do you want to have a wedding? Or do you don't want to get engaged? Because back home, we have Irat al-Fatiha, then the engagement, then Katbi Kitab, then the wedding. Then you leave. So we have like 4 parties before you even leave your nest, you leave your family, and you move into your husband's home or apartment or house that you buy together, you build together, or whatever. So it's not as easy as just, hey, you want to get married? Let's keep engagement. We'll get married. Let's go elope, buy a house, live together. Or don't worry about getting married. Let's just live together, have kids, and we'll call it a night kind of thing. It's not like that. But some people do. I know a lot of Arabs that when Arab Muslims, when they moved to the Western world, they adapted the Western world tradition and the way of life, and they have life partners, and they never got married. They have kids, and the kids are grown. So, like I said, the definition of belongings, I believe, depends on what kind of life are you imagining you should have. And I hope that answer the questions. The question, what do you wish people in the West understood better about Arab women? You know, this question is, I have a patient. She is fascinating human being and a woman. She did a lot of missionary work in Africa through her church. And she has a much better understanding what it takes for a woman other than a westernized woman to make it in the westernized world. So everybody needs to understand that an Arab woman these days is an amalgam of a lot of different traditions, different belief systems, different customs, depending on where you come from, what part of the Arab world. So an Arab technically is anybody and everybody that speaks the language Arabic. We're an Arab, but we have so many different colors in cultures and customs and traditions in the Arab world. So in the misunderstanding, I guess I need to go back to the actual question. The misunderstanding about an Arab woman is she is suppressed, oppressed, abused, limited. They just, they can't do anything without a man in their life. When I came here in 1988, obviously it's not the case these days, but in the 80s when I came here, it's like, ooh, you're here. How is that even possible? How did they let you out? What do you mean, how did they let me out? I came out, voluntarily. My dad gave me his blessing. My mom gave me her, and it's expected of me to leave and pursue, a higher education or just even an education. Oh, your parents trust you. They're not worried about you. What if you, what if they don't know what you do here for like 6 months at a time because I'm away from home? Do they put a lot of pressure on you? Do you have to go back and get married? Do you have the say in picking your life partner? Are you going to go back home, and do you have to go back home and after you finish dental school and practice over there? Do you think they're going to pull you back there? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, why would that be? Yeah, some families, right? They put a lot of pressure on the female members of their family that, you go get an education, but you got to remember, young lady, you have to come back because, I'm basically investing in you. And I had friends like that. I had a friend that went to California, UCLA, undergrad, because she wanted to get a sociology degree. Sociology and psychology and philosophy was forbidden back then in Saudi Arabia to be taught in schools. So she picked sociology, but she ended up going, to UCLA. I'm not sure if she ended up actually getting sociology or psychology, because even if she got psychology, she cannot practice psychology in Saudi Arabia back in the day. I'm not sure about now if they have any therapy, if therapy was frowned upon, and there's no such thing as therapy because if you're suffering, it's just because this is God's will that you are meant to put on this earth to suffer. So basically take it like a man and bite your tongue and conduct yourself with a stiff upper lip and, keep going, basically. But no, it's not the case these days. So she ended up in California getting her degree, and she didn't want to go back. So I remember my mom telling me that she ended up staying here in the United States under the impression that she was getting her master's. She got her master's and she got a PhD because she never wanted to go back. She's from a Saudi family, very, very affluent Saudi family. And even my mom said that, she talked to her family and she gave her, where I was at Case Western. She goes, maybe she'll come and visit. I was like, whatever. She never did. And then I ended up getting her phone number when I was in Saudi on a break, but we never reconnected. So I heard about her through the grapevine that she ended up PhD, but they had to pull her back to Saudi. She couldn't just stay in the United States. But I'm not sure if that's the case with some of the affluent families right now. Do they practice the same thing? I don't think so. I think you're, to a certain degree, I guess, you do have the responsibility to stay connected to the tribe, I call it, which is the family, because you are raised with the mindset that you're responsible for your family's name. You gotta make the family proud of you and don't soil the name and all that stuff. But my mom worried about this stuff. My dad didn't care. He said, do your own thing. Keep going, basically. So that's a misconception, but I guess it is because how Hollywood or the movies, portrayed us, that, we have no rights, we have no say. No, I mean, the school that I went to, it's a private school, and I went to, with members of the royal family, the most affluent, influential, powerful families in Saudi Arabia went to my school. We used to talk a lot about that. We used to talk, I was like, where do you see yourself? Where do you think you're going to go to US? You think you'll live somewhere else other than here? Oh, you must be, I envy you because you're not a Saudi and you don't have to worry about, keeping the family name intact and come back. You can go wherever you want. And we used to talk, we're kids, we're like high school kids, and we used to talk about, like, I wonder where you're going to end up. And even after I graduated from high school, because I stayed in Saudi for about 18 months, I went to the University of King Saud in Riyadh and about a semester in King Abdulaziz in Jeddah, just to test the water. If you guys wondering about that, please check out my episode. I think I did it in season 1 about that. And we used to get together. I stayed in touch with my classmates, and we used to talk a lot. Some of them were already married, and they go into school part-time and they want to pursue a degree. And we used to just toss some ideas, wonder where we're going to end up, wonder what we're going to end up doing. So anyways, but it's a subject that's going to take a lot of episodes to cover, but it's not a cookie cutter. So not you have to know the family to really understand their priorities and what's important to the family and how they conduct themselves. But that's back in the day. I'm saying these days the situation is completely different. So moving on, do you feel that your voice was heard equally in professional settings? So this question, I remember, rose when I was going through what I call my dental divorce, when my partnership got dissolved. Basically, I was kicked out. And my partner at the time, we were just trying to figure out why and what and how. And my husband was with me in that meeting, and he looked at me and he said that, I know that you're going to hold a grudge against me because you think that I'm pushing you out, but I'm doing the right thing for the practice. I'm like, I am the practice. But he said that you are going to hold a grudge because you're a woman. And women always hold grudges. And my husband was sitting there. He goes, what where's this coming from? Like, why are you talking to her that way? You're the one who wants her out. She wants to stay. So anyways, I from that moment, I thought to myself, he will never accept me as a equal partner, like gender-wise or genderless equal partner. And I always wondered, is it because I was an Arab woman? And I will never find out the answer to that question because, of course we split. It was a very ugly split. And I would never, ever talk to him again because I will never forgive him for what he did to me. But I like to think about it as the blessings in disguise, because if that did not happen, I would have never ended up creating my brand. And that's why I believe things don't happen to you, things happen for you. And in a sense, I have so much gratitude, and I almost thankful that he did. At that time, I did not know why this is happening to me, but now I know, over a decade later. But sometimes that's what it will take to find out why things are happening to you or for you. So that's the only time that somebody that I partnered with business-wise, and I spent 11 years with, working hard, saving that practice after his senior partner passed away, that made me say, I don't think he ever accepted me as an equal, as an equal partner, a professional partner, a colleague. Or maybe it was the heat of the moment that he was very stressed out and angry and bitter, and he just lashed. I really don't know. But to answer that question, as far as, I never encountered, or I was never in a situation, or I never experienced anything that indicated that my voice wasn't heard equally, per se, because when I talk to my patients, so what happened is when I left that practice, when I left that partnership, a lot of those patients followed me. And because after, I think, couple of years, 5-6 years or whatever, he sold. So a lot of his patients, his loyal patients, said, okay, Dr. Slava is the next best thing. So they found me, they researched me, found me, and they start coming to my practice. And they would ask me, it's like, what the hell happened? I was like, I don't know. You can ask him. It's like, well, he's not around. And the female patients that I shared with him, when he wasn't available and they came in through the practice for an emergency situation, I was seeing them on vice versa. And they, I told them finally, I was like, you know what? A lot of you guys asking the same question. Might as well, I'm going to let you know exactly what happened, because I don't want you guys judging me, saying that I abandoned ship kind of thing. This is what happened. So the female patients, his female patients, I would say, well, I think that was done on purpose. I don't think he really admired you as a partner. So, and that's another time, I think one of the 2 times that I thought to myself, was I not hearing it? Was I not seeing it? Was I too busy trying to build the business? I was so focused on the business that I wasn't paying attention. Maybe I would never find out. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. He was talking about that behind my back or behind closed doors, and some of the patient maybe heard it or felt it, or the way maybe he insinuated that kind of attitude and mindset towards me when he was describing me, or he was referring to me with his patient. I have no idea. I won't know. But in general, through the journey, being in the United States, living here in the United States, I never felt that. No, my voice wasn't equally heard, because I went through professional school, and I went from undergrad to professional school, undergrad getting married, professional school, got professional school. I just did not have time to go into maybe the workforce where, there was no equal opportunity, for women. Maybe that's having that professional license just plucked me from the everyday operation and put me right on top of, it's like, oh, you're a doctor, so we got to listen to. So that could be it, but the answer is no. I never really felt it, except for those 2 times. How do you navigate conversations about culture, religion, and identity? That's, again, it will probably take me a lot of episodes just covering that, and I'm sure it would be a continuous and nonstop conversation through this podcast. Culture-wise, religion. So let me put this in as simple way as I can. Culture, religion, to me, as a female Arab American, is the same. They are like interchangeable, right? So my religion gave me a lot of what my culture is about, and my culture express a lot what my religion is all about. Okay, so they're intertwined. We don't separate the two, right? Because a lot of the cultural tradition and custom comes from the religion aspect of it, right? But also there's the Arab way of doing things too. So all Arabic food, Arabic language, Arabic food, the way you treat people, the way your hospitality, you're showing sympathy, empathy, compassion, tolerance. It's all the same regardless of your religion, Muslim, Christian, or Jewish, Arab. They're all the same. They act the same. The way they set up their dining room table, it's exactly the same. The way their expectations from their offsprings, from their children, their expectations of the family from the children from the family, it's the same as an Arab. Now, so you have the blanket is being an Arab. That's the umbrella. Under the umbrella, you have the Muslim, Christian, or Jewish Arabs, like maybe the Jewish Iraqis. They, of course, don't celebrate the Islamic Iraqi holidays. But if you look at in Egypt, right, you have the Coptic, the Orthodox Christians. They don't celebrate the Muslim Egyptian holidays, but they recognize it. Okay, so the Jewish Iraqis they recognize there's Ramadan, there's Al-Fitr, and the Muslim Iraqi, they recognize that there is, the Hanukkah and all the Jewish holidays, because they're living together and they're in the same neighborhood, and they've always been in the same neighborhood. And then you have, for example, the, Catholic Lebanese, they know exactly what the, Orthodox Lebanese holidays are and how they conduct their masses in their churches, and because they're within the community. So you have the big umbrella as being an Arab, right? And that's our identity. Okay. And then under that umbrella, you have the branches of the Arab culture, of the Arab community, right? But also at some point, it is intermingled, because if you live in the same neighborhood, you are exposed to that tradition and the custom. Oh yeah, it's the same, but they do certain things a little bit different. Okay, I can deal with this. So give you a big example is, in our culture, if you can have a milk mother, I can have a milk mother as an Arab Muslim that is an Arab Christian. So if I was nursed by our neighbor, Arab Christian, then she is my milk mother, and I cannot marry her son because that's my milk brother. Okay, so see how they intertwine. So that's when we talk about communities, neighborhoods, but when it comes to, oh, this is a little bit different than that. The details a little bit different. You respect each other's space. It's like, I respect that tradition. You can get invited to, Christmas at, a Catholic Lebanese, and you can sit down, you have the cross and Jesus pictures and all this stuff. You respect that. You just sit down and you accept it and you enjoy it. You can ask questions, right? The same thing if they come to your house. And then we have a Quran reciting, and you get up and you go pray, whatever. They recognize it. They accept it. They respect it. It's okay. They tolerate it. It's not like, oh, I'm offended because you got up and you interrupted the meal because you have to go and pray. That's not the case with that, because we're all Arab, right? Under that umbrella. And then you have the little sects between, the Arabs. So that's our identity. Arab is our identity. So coming to the New World, let's take that and apply it to the New World and the Western world. For me I will relate, and I feel like I belong as an Arab Muslim in the United States. If I go into an Arab Christian store, they sell the same food, except instead of having the word Allah up, you have the Jesus Christ picture right on it, or the cross. But it's the same. It's the same food, the same spices, same cheese, same bread, same everything. So I feel as an identity that, I feel like home with that store than to go into the Hannafords, right? Or the Shaw's, or the whatever, or Whole Foods. Because there's nothing about Whole Foods that reminds me of that belonging. Like if I go into a Lebanese Christian grocery store, it's Arab, right? So that's as simple as I can put it as far as identity for, the difference between like Arabs and the Arabs' identity, culture, and religion. Religion is just how we express our gratitude and worship God. That's it. That's what the religion is. But we don't deny the Arab Christians or the Arab Jews. We don't. And vice versa. We know that they exist. We know that we coexist, and we co-create our customs, our tradition, our food, our language, our co-create our building design. We co-create our cities, our art together, right? We don't deny each other. We don't say, no, you don't exist. Of course they do exist, because they're Arabs. You speak my language, you exist. You eat my food, you exist. You cook the same food, you exist. You wear the same kind of look, to a certain point. The eyes, the eyebrows, the hair, the jawline, you're an Arab. I can spot them like 100 miles away. He's an Arab. Because regardless of, and then you can say, okay, oh yeah, you're a Christian. So how's it? Merry Christmas, Happy Easter again. And you just conduct the conversation accordingly. But they are an Arab, right? So it is to navigate conversation about that. I believe it's the hardest conversation I would ever conduct with anybody from the Western world, because the misconception and the stereotype and the stigma and how we are constantly fighting each other, which we did, and that's what brought down the Ottoman Empire, which is the longest reigning Islamic empire in our history, is the Ottoman Empire. And the reason why it fell apart is because of the division. I want this, I want that, being greedy. Oh, you don't count anymore. You don't matter anymore. And then you just heated tension that rise against this guy, and and then it fell apart. Right. But the misconception of the of the Arab world in the Western world is like, you guys are constantly fighting. Well, everybody fought through history. We're not the only ones constantly fighting. So that's what makes the conversation a little bit hard for me to say, okay, forget about what you've heard and forget about what you have learned. And please listen to me. Believe me when I say that. But it's hard because as you know, media and especially social media, it's so powerful right now. It's almost like brainwashing. But anyways, let's move on. Between Two Worlds, an Arab woman's journey of voice identity and representation feels like it's mostly, and this is something that I read or I found while I was doing my research and stuff, that it's all about oppression and suppression, and that we have no voice and we have no, we're not giving any choices and we don't matter. That's not the case. I refer to the episode we did, I think in season 1, about women leadership, women leaders through history. And we just went through the history timeline, and we highlighted the women leadership role through history, whether it's the Western world or the Eastern world. It's really, really good episode, and we covered a lot of that. So I disagree with a lot of the stereotype, unfortunately, because we are being framed into that frame of, oh, you got a lot of problems. You must be so happy that you're here. You must be relieved that you don't have that kind of pressure on you. But there's a lot about our culture that is amazing, and we cannot, and especially me, speak personally, my opinion is I cannot find it anywhere in the Western world. I don't know how to describe it. It's that essence of life. There's something about our culture that gives you a feeling, internal feeling to say that I'm home, and I'm sure other cultures do experience that. But because our culture is so rich, so colorful, and colorblind too, and so tolerant and inclusive, and it just and so mystical and exotic. It's just so beautiful, and I wish the world can see that. Maybe one day, change is going to happen, or the new generation is going to be very successful in representing that culture, especially as women. And I hope that this episode will help that mindset. So on that, we have reached the end of our hour. Thank you so much for listening and watching. These episodes are uploaded weekly on Spotify and Apple, and on YouTube channel, the Greenwood Dental Partners. So if you like this content, please support us by liking us, sharing, joining us, and hit the notification bell. That way you won't miss any episodes. This community is sponsored by humanity and supported by everyday people's story. So always be kind. I hope to see you next time. This is Slava the Jordanian.